Hey up guys, S-Man back at it again for another Pokemon Horizons review. Now this episode officially kicks off the Shining Terapagos arc, and with that we got a new OP. So make sure you guys like this video, subscribe for more content like this in the future. Let's get right into the review. Before anything, I want to talk about the new OP and the ending update. The OP is beautiful, some of the best visuals we've seen from the Pokemon anime. With just some incredible shots of all the Rising Voltackers, Liko, Roy, Mythio, and the other explorers. All just incredible things. Other details I really like, I seen the child Liko be more isolated from her parents with the Sprigatito plush as they're walking through that one market. We see Kafu, I think his name is, in Scarlet and Violet. We also see a young Roy reading the story of Lucius with his grandpa and then running around using the Rising Voltackers flag as a key, which I can presume is what he was doing before he officially joined the team and he found the cape. And there's just so much storytelling here. Like, we see a Mythio training after losing the Threed. We see a shot of Liko, her grandmother and mom, which cuts to all of Lucian's Pokemon, and then Lucian himself, which just teases that he's a part of their family and an ancestor of them. And it's just performed really well with some very good accompanying lyrics, and I just really like the vibe of this OP. It feels really anime, if you get what I mean. I don't know, a lot of Pokemon OPs seem like, oh, you can tell it's a Pokemon OP because they always say Pokemon or Pocket Monster, or you hear like a Pokemon cry and it's just some like music that would sound like it to be from the Pokemon anime. But this one, it sounded like a real anime OP. If you have taken someone who hasn't watched Horizons and watched a bunch of anime and played this OP, I do not think they would have guessed it's a Pokemon opening. As for the ending, I appreciate that they finally updated it, doing a new verse of the song with some new Pokemon. And also, I like the detail of when they sing about being the Rising Voltackers, the Pokemon actually have switched up. Instead of just being a popular Kanto and Paldea Pokemon that was revealed before the game came out, it's actually now instead just all of the Rising Voltackers Pokemon and the Pokemon on the ship. And then with the guest, we have the more important Pokemon that have appeared in the series. This being like Pokemon from the Explorers, the hero Pokemon, and characters, not really characters of the day, the game characters Pokemon like Kabu, Scorch, Nemona's Palmot, Oliva, or whatever its name is. But yeah, enough gushing about that opening and ending. We now need to talk about an episode, and I gotta say, it was pretty average. It was alright. It wasn't a horrible episode. It's more just coming off of last week and just setting up the future. It's the first episode of practically a new season. So it's not really expected to have too much compiled information, lore, backstory, and action, especially after the arc we just got. But yeah, this episode mainly focuses on Liko and Terapagos just on the airship. There's a small underlying development of Sprigatito getting a little jealous towards Terapagos and like feeling like forgotten by Liko, but it's not really that impactful. Like, it's more just, oh, Liko's like too worried about Terapagos now and its importance to pay attention to me, so I'm just gonna do whatever I want. It's not really like a rebellious, it's more just, oh, you're busy. Okay. But I do like how that resolves later in the episode when Liko goes to hug it after talking with her grandma. And actually, speaking of which, the grandma's still on the airship. I don't know if she's still going to be on it for the rest of the series or even like next episode, because she kind of just disappears after. Like, beginning of the episode, her and the Voltackers are eating and they're talking about what happened, which then leads to her going to do some studies on Lucius and then taking a nap, while Liko and Terapagos just explore the ship. Terapagos constantly runs off and runs into new areas, while Liko actually studies it like she did Sprigatito. I really like this, and I love how we see Liko like doing these little doodles to like taking notes of her Pokemon. I really hope we see more of this. I think we saw some of this in the Tenna episode. I could be wrong. I loved when we see it. I always love when we see characters taking notes of their own specific Pokemon and how they can differ from Pokemon in the species, and I just appreciate that this aspect of Liko's like analysis has remained constant in this series. We see Terapagos getting itself into a lot of sticky situations. First off, it runs off from its meal because it didn't like it, then eats blueberries, which I think that's very interesting, seeing as there is an academy called Blueberry Academy, and Terapagos kind of only eats blueberries, and I don't know, maybe Terapagos is in the Blueberry Academy at this moment in the games. We don't know yet. We don't know much about Indigo Disc, but I just think that's a weird parallel. But yeah, then we also get it in the ship steering area, the captain quarters, and it's just playing with Nose Pass, and I know it's Pikachu. Then they go off with Murdoch, and he's cooking, and it eats something, and it likes it. Then it gets just watches the coal just run it and fuel the ship, and then we see a Nidoking video, which then leads to interaction between Liko and Dot. I like their friendship, but please, Liko, stop being awkward around Nidoking. You've definitely got better, but when Dot just opens the door in the Nidoking costume and hands you Terapagos, please don't freak out. I also like their conversation, and it was just nice seeing their friendship again, because we haven't seen these two together physically in a while due to all the plot and the break, and it was just nice seeing them together again. But then Terapagos runs off and actually gets itself in some trouble, climbing up the flagpole and starts calling for Lucian, and get into danger herself trying to save her new Pokemon. I also like the detail that Hatena was the one that found it using energy. I just like Hatena. It's just always in Miko's hoodie. I kind of want to see more of it as a personality-wise. Like, it's constantly just been silently sitting in Miko's hoodie. Like, there will be episodes where you don't even know it's there, and it's just in the hoodie. And I don't know. I just want to see more Hatena. We got a nice personality for Wattrel, and I just want to see more Hatena. But yeah, Sprigatito sees Likos in danger, so she gets her grandma, who saves her with Arcanine. The two then talk a bit about Terapagos and Lucian and the notes, and we also see the terraform Terapagos for the first time, which we also see in the opening, so we're definitely going to see that soon. But yeah, this also leads to Liko's grandmother showing her a picture of Lucius, and then informing her about, and then talking about his connection to Terapagos. She also gives Liko the belt, where Liko now keeps the ancient Pokeballs. I hope we see Liko wear this belt more, because I really like this idea of just her walking around with the ancient Pokeballs, and not in her little satchel, but on a belt. I think that's very cool. It'll be cool to see her add Hatena and Sprigatito's Pokeballs to the belt as well. But yeah, this then leads to Liko going to Sprigatito, like I said earlier, after her and her grandma have the talk about, as long as Pokemon are by your side, you can do anything, which I really like this recurring little catchphrase for Liko and her grandma, and yeah, it was just nice. Then we see more of Sprigatito's little jealousy towards Terapagos when the grandma hands it off to her. This then leads to Liko and the Voltappers discussing their next move, which is going to be hunting down the rest of the ancient Pokemon. They talk about which one will be first out of the four. Roy obviously wants to get Rayquaza, but that's not happening. So then they're discussing the possibilities of how they can find a Cleavor, and they talk about, it's an ancient Pokemon from Hisui, which is current day Sinnoh. They talk about how they would find an Entei or that specific Lapras, which is then when Dot calls them, saying she has a tip that Rayquaza is the wild area. So they decide to head off there and go get Rayquaza. The episode ends with Amifio and his trio heading back to the Explorer's HQ as he stares off into the sky, angry after his loss and failure to acquire Terapagos. But yeah, overall, really good episode. I like the focus on Liko and Terapagos, and just the whole. It was more of a chill episode. I kind of liked it. Not a lot happened. It was more just the ending is what led to everything. But I can appreciate that. We needed a break. We've had nonstop action. We've had, in the span of since they left Paldea, a training episode, one backstory. Actually, two backstory episodes, a training episode, another training episode, a capture, a whole arc fighting Galarian Moltres, and then immediately going into the war for the pet. But overall, I think this episode was a 7 out of 10. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't the best episode, obviously. The opening was really good and probably going to be what's talked about most. And I just can't wait to see what happens. Hope you guys like this video. If you're for more content like this in the future, S-Man signing off.